Israel with regards to the so-called ceasefire with Hamas and what's happening at the United Nations in the Security Council. So effectively, President Trump has said that he wants Israel to let the 200 or so Hamas terrorists that are stuck in tunnels underground in Gaza on the Israeli side of the Yellow Line, to let them basically escape scot free with their weapons and everything and go back to Gaza unharmed and not captured or not penalized in any way. At the same time, the Trump administration is bringing a resolution to the United Nations Security Council to debate and vote on the plan, the Trump plan, which is currently the basis for the ceasefire that's going on, and to advance the recognition of statehood, Palestinian statehood for Palestinians, to have a recognized state by the UNSC. Now, why is this a problem? It's a problem on many levels. First of all, it's exactly as I told you it would happen. Hamas is testing the limits of the signatories of the plan by delaying and by confronting. And I told you, even the United States was a possible point of leverage that would eventually break first, if not other countries, to say, okay, well, this has gone on too long. We need to, move past this, and we just need to accept the fact that Hamas is not going to leave power, and they're just going to be there whether we like it or not in the future. And we need to deal with that, and we need to also advance the Palestinian statehood demands. Israel, for its part, is rejecting those claims and rejecting those demands. Netanyahu said that there's not going to be any release of these terrorists from the tunnels underground without some kind of penalty. They either need to be stopped, arrested, caught by the IDF, or they need to be eliminated because if they're not willing to surrender, they need to be eliminated because they're terrorists underground in a field of combat in an area where Israel controls the land, and they refuse to surrender. So rules of engagement, they can be eliminated according to the rules of engagement and, the laws of war, effectively. At the same time, Israel is also rejecting, Netanyahu has said again and again, that Israel is going to reject any demand to allow for a Palestinian state to be recognized, and is not going to sit there and listen to long speeches about why Israel should accept a Palestinian state when we're literally just 2 years after the war that Hamas started on October 7, 2023. And this would obviously be seen as a reward to terrorism. Already, it was a reward to terrorism when the United Nations General Assembly voted to recognize this fictitious state of Palestine that does not have any borders, doesn't have a single government, doesn't have a single leader, doesn't have its own currency, doesn't have any infrastructure to call itself a state necessarily. Israel and Hamas are working together. No, James, Israel and Hamas are not working together. They are two parties involved in a ceasefire. They're two opposing belligerent parties in a ceasefire. And Hamas is the party that has started this violence in the last 2 years. There is no working with Hamas other than there are negotiations going on to make the ceasefire stick and to make the Trump plan advance to phase 2. Can you get a shout out? Hey, Alexis Garvey. Hey, Alexis Garvey. Shout out to you. Hi, how are you? Thanks for being here. And folks, don't forget to like and subscribe and comment and share and all that good stuff so that the algorithms can help me reach more people. I really appreciate it. A lot of my videos, pretty much all of my videos get shadow banned. That's the way it is. I mean, I could see it very clearly in the numbers. But anyway, it doesn't really matter. Hi, Carol in England. Nice to see you here. Anyway, so the problem with allowing Israel to be pressured into accepting the Hamas terrorists from escaping the tunnels is obvious. It would be literally letting terrorists escape justice, forget justice even, escape from a field of combat in which they are captured, they are effectively trapped, and they have no way to get out unless they surrender. And there's no reason for them to be allowed to escape, given that they're armed and they refuse to surrender and they refuse to renounce violence, despite the fact that Hamas has signed the ceasefire in agreement with the Trump plan, which demands that they disarm and remove themselves from power. And Hamas has said that they will not demand the terrorists to surrender their weapons under any condition. That is a direct violation of the Trump plan and the ceasefire. So there is actually no reason for Israel to accept that these terrorists should be allowed to escape. Free Arnold, yeah. If Jamie Arnold, if you want to free Palestine, Hamas needs to surrender power because they are the people who are oppressing the Palestinians and keeping them from actually being free. There are no equal rights in land that Hamas controls. Women don't have equal rights. People of different races do not have equal rights. Gays do not have equal rights. Shall I go on? Okay, well, if you're okay, anyway, so that has to do with that. Now, obviously, the problem with letting terrorists escape when they're in violation of a ceasefire is very clearly the fact that, well, they're violating the ceasefire, right? They need to be caught or killed because they're not only in violation of the ceasefire, they're on the enemy combatants' side of the line. And so that is a very clear violation of the agreement. And if they refuse to surrender, well, there's consequences for that in war, right? Now, on top of that, at the United Nations, it should be no surprise to you if you've been watching my videos that the United States is doing this. I literally told you, and I've been telling you for years, yeah, Trump is a great ally of Israel for now. I've always said for now. The moment he sees an opportunity for himself or for the United States or both that he views as beneficial to him or the United States or both, he will take it, even if that means stabbing Israel in the back or throwing Israel under the bus. So, why is he advancing this vote at the United Nations Security Council? Well, he's doing it partly because he tires quickly of issues. He doesn't like to deal with things for a very long time. He likes things to move along. You know, the supposed art of the deal guy. He likes to make deals, even if they're not great deals, even if they're just flim-flam on paper deals that have no teeth and no meaning. But he's also doing it because of money, because he wants to sell F-35s and weapons and everything else to Saudi Arabia and possibly other countries. Now, this is a problem because Israel obviously needs to have the qualitative edge in the skies in the Middle East in order to maintain regional stability. I did a video about this yesterday. In fact, you can go watch my streams about that. So it is very dangerous to allow Saudi Arabia to obtain F-35s. But is it more dangerous to allow them to have F-35s than it is to allow the recognition of the state of Palestine? No, the F-35s are actually not as big of a problem as allowing a Palestinian state. Right? If a Palestinian state is allowed to be created, and if it were to be created, that would make Israel much more vulnerable to a future attack, similar to what happened on October 7th. And if you think Hamas isn't in the West Bank, well, guess what? The IDF just over the weekend arrested dozens of Hamas terrorists who were literally planning an attack. And one of the units in that group was literally in the final stage and was ready to attack. So there is no, we haven't seen Hamas in the West Bank. That's utter nonsense. The West Bank, by the way, Hamas is in the parliament in the West Bank. They just don't have the majority of the parliamentary seats, but they have a significant number of the seats in the Palestinian Authority Parliament in the West Bank. So if anybody says to you, "Oh, Hamas doesn't exist in the West Bank," it's a lie. So Israel is being pressured by its very best ally, and I told you this would happen, that the probability was very high that this would happen if Trump saw an opportunity to do this, right? Because Trump views the sale of the F-35s and other things to Saudi Arabia as a win, and he also sees, more oil and gas deals as a potential, win for the U.S. So he doesn't want to see those things fall through. Therefore, he's pressuring Israel, his supposed, friend and ally that he claims to be the best friend of, right? And which Israel has said he's the best friend of as a president. And I've always said he may appear to be that way, and he may be doing great things for Israel, and he has done great things for Israel, but he's also an extremely transactional person. He's the most transactional president, right? His interest is in getting deals and having, being able to show, oh, I did this and that and the other thing, even if those deals are complete, fiction, right? Jared Kushner and that whole team, they're not interested so much in seeing the jihadis lay down their weapons and get de-radicalized as they are in doing deals. Okay? They want to go to Qatar, they want to go to the UAE, they want to do all these deals with the Gulf states and with Saudi Arabia. That's their interest. That's what they like to do. Great, but that doesn't make them great statesmen, and it doesn't make them great at diplomacy, and it doesn't make them great at comprehending what it is that they actually need to do in order to end this conflict. This conflict will only end when the jihadi side stops being jihadi, right? When they accept the fact that Israel is here, we have a state, whether they like it or not. Just like they conquered this land once, well, we defended our land in battle, in war, in 1948, and again since then, and we are here, whether they like it or not. It doesn't matter if you hate that or if you like it. We are here. And if the jihadis refuse to accept our existence, this war continues whether we like it or not. It may continue in hot phases, it may continue in cold phases, but it continues. It's unfortunate, but that's the reality. I wish it would end. I wish they would stop hating, and I wish they would have love in their hearts and accept the fact that we live here. And I'm not even going to go into the ancestral homeland argument because I don't think that's not even necessary. Politically, the reality is Israel controls the land of Israel, and we are here in order to establish our land as a wonderful country, which it already has been for 77 years, and is increasingly wonderful, increasingly flourishing. The population is growing, the economy is growing, and all of the citizens have equal rights, whether they're Jewish, Muslim, Christian, atheist, Buddhist, Zen, it doesn't matter what, anything. We have equal rights in this country. And in many ways, Jews have less rights than Arabs because Arabs don't have to serve in the military here. They can volunteer, but they don't have to serve. Go home to Israel, don't beg US for armor. Jim, Israel doesn't want American money. Also, Israel doesn't really get American money, so to speak. What we get is a discount on a certain amount of goods that we can buy from the United States. And then the rest of the money that we have, that the United States allocates to us, is specifically to purchase goods that the United States cannot purchase so that we can reverse engineer it and share the intelligence with the United States, which we do. And it saves the United States many billions of dollars a year, and it saves them many years of R&D. So I do live in Israel. I don't know why you're saying Israel is so great move. I am in Israel. This live stream is in Israel right now. So no, the U.S. did not give Israel 20 billion. Again, it's a discount on it's a credit line, if you understand anything about it. And Israel purchases that amount of stuff and also purchases a lot more at full price. So we're not getting free money from the United States. In fact, the United States government makes money back from the taxes that Israel pays to those companies when those companies have revenues from the deals on the weapons that they sell to Israel. So the U.S. literally gets money back from the money. In any case, Israel has asked multiple times and did so very recently again. In fact, last week, Bibi Netanyahu said once again that Israel would like to stop receiving money from the United States, or credit line from the United States. In fact, he first said it he said it already when he was first the prime minister of Israel back in the 1990s, and he went to Washington, and before Congress, he said, I highly recommend that Israel stop receiving this military aid in the form of a credit line because it doesn't help us. We don't. It's helpful, yes, but it doesn't help us in the public world, the public perception world, and effectively, we don't really need it. Our economy is strong enough that we don't actually need that credit line, But the reason the US keeps insisting on it is because it gives the US political leverage over Israel. So, in case you're wondering why the US keeps giving Israel this credit line, that's the reason, but also because of the reasons of intelligence gathering and R&D and everything else that I mentioned to you. Also, Israel and the US develop technologies together, which directly benefit the US as well as Israel. So, if you think that it's a one-way thing and that Israel gets free money from the US, you really don't understand how that works. With all due respect, I highly recommend you look into it. It's really not hard to find. How does the military aid for Israel work? You can Google that. You can look it up anywhere. It's plenty of authoritative sources you can look for about that. Anyway, so right now, no one should be surprised that the United States is pressuring Israel to let the terrorists escape from Gaza. It's exactly what I told you guys would happen. I've been saying it now for more than a month and a half since the draft proposal was even put forth. When the draft proposal was put forth, so they're just gonna be a sheep in a different clothing, or a wolf in a different sheep's clothing. They're going to change the name of some organization to pretend to run under that. They did that immediately after the ceasefire went into effect. And the terrorists who are stuck in the tunnels are literally in violation of the ceasefire. So none of this is a surprise. And again, the US selling arms to Saudi Arabia and potentially to other countries is another big reason that the US is putting pressure on Israel to release the hostages in Gaza, and not their hostages, to release the terrorists who are trapped in Gaza, and to allow this ridiculous sham vote to go forth at the UN, where they want to basically say, we endorse the Trump plan and we want to endorse Palestinian statehood. You want to endorse the Trump plan, that's one thing, but that shouldn't be mixed with endorsing a Palestinian state, because that is not conducive to peace at all, as long as the Palestinians don't even have a unified government, and the Gaza side is run by Hamas, and the West Bank side is run by a terrorist organization called the Palestinian Authority, which still has a pay for slay program in effect. Doesn't matter if you've heard on the news, oh, they stopped it. They didn't stop it. They stopped it for like 5 people, and they found other ways to continue paying them, because that's what they always do. Anyway, that's going to do it for now. That's your quick update from here in the Middle East. You can speak about every other country except for Israel. What are you talking about? Of course, you can speak about Israel. What are you talking about? People criticize Israel and America all the time. It's ridiculous for you to say that that's not true. Israeli society is truly sick. Okay, Israeli society is truly sick. What is your evidence for that claim? Please post it in the comments. Just don't beg America to defend. When has America ever defended Israel? Okay, so the Iranian missiles that were, if you want to say, defended against by America. First of all, Israel used Israeli systems by and large for that. There were very few THAAD missiles that the U.S. actually used, and they basically used them to see if they worked. It was Israel's missiles that shot down pretty much all the Iranian weapons that were shot towards Israel. The THAAD missiles were used, I think, once, maybe twice. And the U.S. strategically positioned those here because they view Iran as a threat to regional stability and U.S. stability, U.S. security. In case you don't know, the United States has a lot of non-military assets in Israel. There are a lot of companies here that are American companies. They have R&D facilities here. The U.S. doesn't want to see those assets get damaged or destroyed. There's also hundreds of thousands of American citizens living here, the largest expat community in the world. So there's no reason for the U.S. not to want to protect Israel from incoming barrages of Iranian ballistic missiles. But again, as much as those THAAD missiles may have been helpful in one particular round salvo of missiles coming in, it was Israeli missiles that shot down the overwhelming majority, more than 90%, more than 99% of the weapons that it shot down. There you go. So that's going to do it for now. I will see you guys in the next one. Again, please like, share, comment, subscribe. Even if you hate me, if you hate this video, hey, hit the like button 3 times. Just tell me how much you can't stand it, right? But no, seriously, leave a comment and subscribe, and hopefully I will see you in the next one. Till then, peace, shalom from Israel.